Stephen Schwartzman was a formidable figure in the business world, celebrated for his acumen and drive as the CEO of Schwartzman Industries. Nicole Schwartzman, his wife, was a prominent figure in the art world. Known for her sophisticated taste and keen eye for emerging talent, Nicole had made a name for herself as a celebrated art dealer since opening her own gallery in 2008. Her presence at high-profile gallery events and charity galas such as the 2012 Venice Biennale and the 2015 Met Gala was always noted, and she had a reputation for bringing a touch of elegance to every occasion. Michelle's career and social standing complemented Stephen's own, and together they formed a glamorous couple admired by their peers. They had married in 2007, and their union, which had spanned 12 years, appeared to be the epitome of success and stability. Stephen and Nicole Schwartzman first met Alan and Vanessa Winchester at a high-profile charity gala in Manhattan on November 10, 2012. The event, held at one of the city's grandest venues, was a gathering of influential figures from various sectors including art, finance, and technology. Nicole, renowned for her role in the art world, was a guest of honor, and Stephen, as a prominent CEO, was there to support his wife and contribute to the event's success. Alan Winchester, a charismatic and affluent businessman, was immediately drawn to Nicole's grace and insight during the evening. Vanessa, equally charming and well-connected, quickly struck up a conversation with Stephen. The four of them found themselves engaged in lively discussions about art, business, and high society, their mutual interests creating an immediate bond. The conversation flowed effortlessly with Nicole and Vanessa discussing their favorite artists and upcoming exhibitions. While Stephen and Alan shared insights into the latest business trends and investment opportunities, the chemistry between the couples was undeniable, and what began as casual conversation quickly deepened into a genuine friendship. As the evening progressed, the Winchesters invited the Schwartzmans to their home for a more intimate gathering. The invitation was eagerly accepted, and soon, the two couples were spending weekends together, attending events and exploring their shared interests. Their friendship grew stronger over time, with frequent dinners, cultural outings, and collaborative charity efforts. It was during one of these gatherings that the topic of unconventional lifestyles and personal experimentation came up. Alan and Vanessa, known for their adventurous spirit, introduced the idea of a wife-swapping arrangement, suggesting it as a way to add excitement and variety to their lives. Stephen and Nicole, intrigued by the idea and looking for a new dynamic in their relationship, agreed to explore this new arrangement. The mutual respect and trust between the Schwartzmans and the Winchesters made this arrangement seemed like a natural extension of their friendship. The couple's interactions, initially marked by curiosity and enthusiasm, soon became a regular part of their social lives. The wife-swapping arrangement was initially intended as an adventurous diversion from their high-profile lives, providing excitement and novelty. It quickly became a regular part of their social interactions, blending the personal and professional spheres of their lives. Alan and Vanessa's influence on the Schwartzmans was significant, and their mutual engagement in this unconventional lifestyle began to complicate their relationships. Around 2017, Nicole Schwartzman and Alan Winchester, who had been engaging in a wife-swapping arrangement with their partners, began to develop strong emotional bonds with each other. Their physical intimacy, which had started as a thrilling experiment, had evolved into a deep connection. They found themselves craving each other's company, sharing secrets, and exploring desires they had never known before as their relationship became more intimate. Nicole and Alan struggled to maintain the boundaries of their arrangement. They began to question whether their feelings for each other were merely a product of their fantasy or something more profound. Meanwhile, Stephen and Vanessa, oblivious to the growing intensity between their partners, continued to enjoy the benefits of their unconventional arrangement. They started to secretly meet outside of their arranged wife-swapping encounters. Stolen moments, hidden glances, and whispered promises became a regular part of their lives. When they were together with their respective partners, Stephen and Vanessa, for their wife-swapping sessions, Nicole and Alan couldn't help but feel a spark that they no longer felt with their own spouses. During these sessions, they would often find themselves lost in each other's eyes, their passion and intimacy with each other, surpassing anything they experienced with their own partners. They began to crave each other's touch, and their encounters became more intense and satisfying than ever before. Stephen and Vanessa, still oblivious to the growing connection between their partners, continued to participate in the wife-swapping arrangement, unaware that their spouses had begun to emotionally and physically check out of their relationships. The fantasy that had once brought them all together was now threatening to tear them apart. On the night of March 5th, Nicole revealed the shocking news that she was carrying Alan's child. The room fell silent. With tension and anger hanging in the air, Vanessa's face twisted in rage and betrayal, her eyes blazing with fury as she glared at Nicole. Her body language screamed hostility, her hands clenched into fists. Stephen's face turned red with anger, his eyes wide with shock and hurt. He seemed frozen, unable to process the news. Alan took a step forward, trying to defuse the situation. But Vanessa's glare stopped him in his tracks. His eyes darted between Nicole and Vanessa, unsure of what to do next. The atmosphere was electric with tension, the relationships between the two couples on the brink of collapse. The wife-swapping fantasy had turned into a nightmare, and it seemed that there was no turning back. On the 6th of March, Nicole Schwartzman laid in her own pool of blood. Shortly after the body was found, the police started to work on their case. The detectives had been briefed on the circumstances surrounding Nicole Schwartzman's murder. The only others present at the time of the murder were her husband, Stephen Schwartzman, their neighbors, the Winchesters, and the Schwartzmans' maid, Annabeth. A medical examiner arrived at the crime scene. The medical examiner's report indicated that Nicole's death was caused by exsanguination from multiple stab wounds, likely inflicted with a letter opener. The examiner's hypothesis proposed that the killing was a deliberate act given the organized crime scene and lack of signs of forced entry or struggle. This suggested that the killer may have been someone known to Nicole, who had access to the mansion and had planned the attack in advance. The same statement was given by Stephen and the Winchesters when they were questioned by the police. They were asked about their whereabouts on the day of Nicole's death, and they all claimed to have been in different parts of the mansion, unaware of the events that happened. Their alibis were checked, but there was no other staff or witness to confirm their corroborating statements. However, the police still suspected that one of them might be hiding something, and they continued to investigate further. The investigation was ongoing, and the police were following up on several leads. Meanwhile, the statements given by Stephen and the Winchesters were being scrutinized. For any inconsistencies or potential clues that might have been missed, they said that Annabeth, the maid, was the one who had screamed and alerted them to Nicole's lifeless body. They claimed that they had been summoned to the scene by Annabeth's frantic cries for help, and that they had been unaware of the events leading up to Nicole's death until that moment. Annabeth was questioned further, and she recounted her version of events. She claimed that she had been upstairs going about her daily routine when she heard Nicole's voice coming from downstairs. She said that Nicole was speaking with someone, but she couldn't make out who it was or what they were saying. As she came downstairs to investigate, she witnessed a horrific scene. She saw Nicole being stabbed multiple times by an unknown assailant, who then turned and fled the scene. Annabeth claimed that she was too shocked and frightened to intervene, and that she had immediately called out for help and alerted Stephen and the Winchesters. However, the police noticed that Annabeth's story seemed rehearsed and that she was being evasive about certain details. They pressed her for more information, but she insisted that she was telling the truth. The police were not convinced, and they continued to investigate Annabeth's involvement in Nicole's murder. That day, Nicole's body was taken for autopsy, and when the result came out, the medical examiner's report revealed that Nicole's body had signs of a fierce struggle, and she was indeed pregnant. Although no DNA was found on her body, one peculiar detail caught the investigators' attention. A small, almost imperceptible thread of fabric was lodged in the wound on her hand. Further analysis revealed that the thread matched the fabric of the Schwartzmans' living room couch. This suggested that the killer may have been in the house, possibly sitting on the couch before or after the murder. The thread could have been torn from the couch when the killer stood up or moved around, and accidentally got caught in Nicole's wound during the struggle. The next day, the police investigation continued with a series of separate interviews. Stephen, still reeling from the loss of his wife, was questioned in one room, while the Winchesters, including their maid Annabeth, were questioned in another. When asked to provide a detailed account of their activities on the night before the murder, discrepancies emerged in their statements. Stephen claimed he had been in his study, working late, and hadn't seen or heard anything unusual. Alan said he had been watching TV in the room upstairs, while Vanessa claimed she was in their bedroom reading a book. However, Annabeth, the maid, revealed that she had seen Vanessa arguing with Nicole in the living room around p.m. and later saw Alan together with Nicole around p.m. The police noticed that the Winchester stories didn't match Annabeth's account, and the maid's revelation raised more questions. Who was telling the truth and what were they hiding? The investigation was getting more complicated by the minute. The police probed Annabeth further, sensing she might be a crucial witness. They asked her to elaborate on the Winchesters' frequent visits to the Schwartzmans' residence. Annabeth hesitated, then revealed a shocking detail. She had noticed that the Winchesters and Schwartzmans would swap wives during their get-togethers. It was a regular occurrence, and Annabeth had grown accustomed to seeing the couples switch partners. The police were stunned by this revelation. They had suspected an affair, but not a consensual wife-swapping arrangement between the two couples. The police brought Stephen and the Winchesters in for further questioning. Armed with the new information from Annabeth, they asked each of them separately if they had been involved in a wife-swapping arrangement, and to their surprise, all of them admitted to it. Stephen, Alan, and Vanessa each confirmed that they had indeed been swapping partners and that it had been a consensual agreement between the two couples. They claimed it was just a harmless experiment, a way to spice up their marriages and explore new connections. As the investigation continued, the spotlight fell on Vanessa and Stephen, who now emerged as prime suspects in Nicole's murder. The police had discovered a clear motive: the pregnancy. With Alan's earlier revelation that Nicole was pregnant with his child, the police now had a solid reason to believe that Vanessa, as Alan's wife, would have had a strong motive to kill Nicole. Jealousy, betrayal, and a desire to protect her marriage could have driven Vanessa to commit the crime. Similarly, Stephen, as Nicole's husband, would have had a motive to kill his wife if he felt betrayed by her infidelity and pregnancy with another man's child. His earlier alibi of working in his study now seemed shaky, and the police wondered if he might have been more involved in the events of that fateful night than he initially let on. The police decided to bring Vanessa and Stephen in for further questioning, this time with a focus on their potential motives and any evidence that might link them to the crime. The police obtained DNA samples from Vanessa and Stephen, hoping to find a match with any evidence collected from Nicole's body. However, after conducting thorough tests, they found no traces of their DNA on Nicole's body or at the crime scene. With no physical evidence linking them to the crime, the police were forced to release Vanessa and Stephen from detention despite their suspicious behavior and questionable alibis. The lack of concrete evidence meant the police had no grounds to hold them. Their lawyers had been arguing for their release, citing the absence of any tangible proof connecting them to Nicole's murder. The police had searched their belongings, phones, and computers, but found nothing incriminating. No DNA, no fingerprints, no suspicious transactions or communications. It was as if they had been careful to cover their tracks, or perhaps they were simply telling the truth about their innocence. As the police struggled to find any physical evidence, the pressure from the lawyers and the court mounted. The police knew they couldn't hold Vanessa and Stephen indefinitely without charging them. Reluctantly, they made the decision to release them. Hoping that further investigation would uncover new leads, Vanessa and Stephen left the detention center, looking relieved but still shaken by their ordeal. They maintained their innocence, claiming they had been wrongly accused and were grateful to be free once more. The police, however, remained skeptical, keeping them under surveillance as they continued their investigation. 2 days after releasing Vanessa and Stephen, the police obtained a warrant to search the Schwartzman residence. Meanwhile, Annabeth had been summoned the previous day for another round of questioning. During a routine questioning session, the police noticed a small cut on Annabeth's hand. They asked her about it, and she provided an explanation that raised suspicions. Her story seemed inconsistent and evasive, sparking the detective's interest. The cut on her hand looked too precise, too clean, to be from a broken glass. The police suspected a knife wound, and Annabeth's nervous behavior reinforced their doubts. The detectives decided to investigate further, obtaining a search warrant for the Schwartzman residence. They arrived at the mansion. Armed with a team of forensic experts, state-of-the-art equipment, and a determination to find new evidence, the police had been granted a new search warrant, allowing them to scour the premises once again, this time with fresh eyes and advanced technology. As they stepped out of their vehicles, the team of forensic experts began to unload their gear, including specialized lights, cameras, and collection kits. The police officers, led by the determined detective, stood ready to assist, their eyes scanning the mansion's facade as if searching for any hint of what lay within. The team's mission was clear: to leave no stone unturned, no surface unexamined, and no potential evidence uncollected. They would re-question the staff, re-examine the crime scene, and reanalyze every shred of evidence previously collected. The search was meticulous, with every room and corner scoured for clues. And then in the incinerator, they found it. The murder weapon, a kitchen knife, partially burned but still recognizable, was lodged in the ashes. The police carefully extracted the knife, taking care not to damage any potential evidence. They bagged it and sent it to the lab for analysis. The discovery of the murder weapon was a significant breakthrough in the case. The police now had physical evidence that could link the killer to the crime. They began to re-question Alan and Annabeth, who were still on house arrest, about the knife and the incinerator. The lab results revealed a shocking discovery. Annabeth's fingerprint was found on the handle of the kitchen knife. The police had previously collected her DNA and fingerprints during the initial investigation, which made it easy to match. With this new evidence, on the 20th of March, with enough evidence, the police immediately arrested Annabeth, charging her with Nicole's murder. She was taken into custody, her expression a mix of shock and fear. As the police questioned her further, she confessed. Annabeth revealed that Nicole had caught her stealing from the safe in the living room. Nicole had threatened to call the police, and a struggle ensued. In a panic, Annabeth's hand instinctively reached for the kitchen knife she had tried using to open the safe. She stabbed Nicole in a moment of desperation. Not intending to kill, the police listened intently as Annabeth's confession poured out, revealing the events that led to Michael's tragic death. The investigation had finally uncovered the truth behind the murder. Annabeth's actions, driven by fear and desperation, had led to a devastating outcome. The police took Annabeth into custody, charging her with Nicole's murder. The defense tried to argue that Annabeth had acted in self-defense, but the prosecution countered that the evidence showed a clear intention to kill. After deliberating for hours, the jury delivered a guilty verdict. The judge sentenced Annabeth to life in prison without the possibility of parole. As the sentence was read out, Annabeth's face crumpled, and she collapsed in her chair, overcome with grief and despair. The Schwartzman family, who had been present throughout the trial, showed little emotion as the sentence was handed down. They had already lost Nicole, and now they saw justice served. As Annabeth was led away in handcuffs, she knew she would spend the rest of her life behind bars. Haunted by the memory of the crime she had committed, the once quiet and unassuming maid had been revealed as a ruthless killer, and now she would pay the ultimate price. Thanks for watching. Subscribe and like this video for more true crime video. Don't forget to leave your thoughts and theories in the comments section below. Take care and see you in the next video.